Good morning, everyone. Um, Again, we will start as usual with quieting your mind by watching your breath for a few moments. Then we can try to cultivate good motivation and intention for being here. We can may us coming here together, giving our precious time, energy, resource to listen and to engage in discussion, reflecting, contemplating. May all of this become cause and condition to transform and improve our mindset, to reduce and overcome harmful negative emotions or thoughts, such as anger, resentment, jealousy, pride, strong attachment, ignorance, or so. And may it act as a causal condition to cultivate and improve those beneficial positive state of mind within ourselves and outside from them. Such as the patient's mind, loving kindness, compassion, positive mind, and the wisdom and so forth. And having cultivated those positive state of mind, may we be able to achieve our highest potential, fully awakened state, so that we can not only be beneficial in health, but greatest beneficial in health, and not only for few, but for each and every sentence. It may always be helpful, beneficial to others, directly, indirectly. And may we never intentionally hurt and harm others, we can help others. Going into the that system, moves that prayer. Yeah. Can you? Yeah. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Wisdom. By the merit I create through listening to the Dhamma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all things. Sangye che danto ge sonam la chanchu patu dani jaksu sagi che kogi be sonam ge dola penche sangye duba sho sangye che danto ge sonam la chanchu patu dani jaksu sagi che kogi be sonam dola penche sangye duba. So on Sunday, we have been studying one particular very important text by one of the Indian master around 10th century, um, known as Atisha Digamkara. And he was instrument in reviving Buddhism in Tibet. Um, and this text, known as Light of the Path or Lamb of the Path, or Illuminating Path to Enlightenment, different title probably you might say due to different translation. Um, is one very important because in Tibet is the lamrim, the graduate path, that becomes so popular and among all different traditions. And the root of for all this lamrim teaching, writing, practice is based on this Adisha's writing. Um, and so we have been kind of studying, following that. And I know there is at least one English translation or commentary, maybe let's say commentaries on this by His Holiness Dalai Lama. There's also there is one by His Holiness Dalai Lama as well. So I don't know the reason title, but okay. So there is that, and then there is illuminating the path to enlightenment. That is the title by His Holiness Dalai Lama, and you can download from FMP. I think they don't have hard copy. They have run out of hard copy, but they have PDF. So you can go to definitely Wisdom and archive in that. I think they have that. Yeah, Lama Wisdom. If you type probably um, illuminating the path to enlighten from the cooperating with Dalai Lama. So again, that would be nice for you to have and to do the studies. It is not a huge, big. So again, not just listening here, but actually you can go home and you need to study yourself with that. So then it helps in your study and practice, to have that book, so yeah, you can download there if you go there. So that is one thing that I recommend those for those who are interested. Um, and as I mentioned last week, we have within this Atisha's writing, the subject we are at the moment is where having explained um, the practice meditation that we need to cultivate in order to have a spontaneous, effortless, awakening mind of bodhicitta, um, and how to cultivate that awakening mind of the bodhicitta. And in order to stabilize that awakening mind, then taking the bodhisattva vow, and then having taken the bodhisattva vows, then how to engage in the bodhisattva path of practice, such as six perfections or paramita or 10 paramita. Um, and here Adisha mainly focus on among those six paramita, mainly on three paramita, and the practice of paramita of moral discipline and the practice of paramita of meditative concentration and the wisdom. So yeah. So in terms of where we are in terms of the practice, um, most of the practice, and I think it's the verse number 32, yeah, or 31. I think 32. Okay. Yeah, so there is, I don't know whether we have the same verses or not. I have to check. Same translation. So it is a slightly different translation. No, no, no. So here, yeah, I don't see even page number, but okay. Um, page number 7. And last from the verse number 4, I think that's where we are. Yeah. I think we are there, yeah, when to. Yeah, so that is where Atisha talked about the first, the training in the moral discipline, ethical or moral discipline of the bodhisattvas. And that is one of the paramita. So there he says, completely pure body, speech, and mind, okay, cause you to maintain the actual vows of engaged bodhisattva. So, once you have cultivated the first aspiring bodhisattva mind, and then, by taking the both of vows, then we actualize the engaging bodhisattva mind. And in order to maintain that bodhisattva mind, and in order to keep the vows of precept, the both of vows of precept, then we have to engage in the practice of moral discipline that help to keep our body, physical actions of behavior, speech, our verbal, and our mind pure and without being deluded by, harmful um, physical behavior and speech and thought. So the more we are able to preserve our ethical or moral discipline, restraining, reframing from engaging into any kind of hurtful and harmful, physical actions of behavior, speech, and the thought, then we are able to keep our mind more pure, more virtuous, more pure. And the more we are able to keep our three doors more virtuous and more pure, then it helps and causes us to maintain the actual vow of engaged bodhicitta and from losing the bodhicitta mind.
Thinking I shall have.
By properly practicing the discipline of spirit training. So here, the discipline of spirit training are the spirit training of the bodhisattva's moral discipline. Okay. So when you train in moral discipline of the bodhisattvas, there are three types of training in that. The moral discipline of restraining or reframing from misdeed, okay, that hurt and harm others and yourself. So we try to restrain or refrain from hurting and harming others, either through body, speech, mind, any of them. That is one of the discipline. So that is, yeah. And we normally engage in the hurtful and harmful actions because of a lot of time because of our selfish attitude, self-centeredness. And so part of both sort of training in moral discipline is to restrain or reframe that selfish attitude as much as possible, to have less selfish attitude as much as possible. And when you have less selfish attitude, then we harm and hurt others less. And thereby also we hurt and harm ourselves less. You know. So that is one of the discipline, training in one of the discipline. The discipline of restraining or refraining from engaging in harming others through any of the three doors. The second training of moral discipline of both sarvas is out of compassion mind, cherishing for others, you engage in the other virtues actions, practices that can help and support your both your mind and your both of practice. You know, whatever form of other virtues, you know, different practices, you know, paying homage, respect, making offering, generosity, you know, um, engaging in purification, you know, engage in the practice of accumulation of matter, engage in the practice of meditating on different subject topics. You know, all of that, whatever virtue that we engage into, um, that can, in order to enhance, in order to enhance our both the mind and our both. And so that is the other discipline, the training and other discipline of both. You know, the discipline of engaging into the virtue, you know, out of that both the mind. And then the other training, you know, the third training of the discipline in both is while restraining of the selfish attitude, you know, and out of loving kindness, compassion, both the mind, trying to benefit and help others as much as possible, trying to engage into working for the well-being of others. And by working for the well-being of others, your own well-being is then taken care of. So benefiting others, helping others, uh, directly, in whatever capacity we have, in whatever opportunity when we have, and whenever capacity, whenever we are able, trying to. So that is, you know, theory training. The discipline of theory training here. That is what it means. By properly practicing the discipline of theory training of the Bodhisattva moral discipline, you know, so by that, your reference for those during training grow greater. As you train more in those practice, as you practice, you begin to feel more result of that. You begin to feel your mind is more subdued. As you practice more, you begin to see your mind is more subdued. You begin to feel, you know, your mind is more calm, peaceful. You begin to feel maybe, you know, you are having a little bit more compassion than before. You started to feel maybe you feel a little bit more generosity than before. You feel you are more a little bit more patient than before. And so you started to notice. You started to notice small changes in yourself. And when you started to feel and notice change in yourself, positive changes, you have naturally you feel reverence and respect for those practices. Naturally, you have a respect and appreciation and grateful to those practices, those training. You know, that training, that respect, the respect, um, the appreciation, um, sense of feeling of, that will, you know, arise. And when you have more, and as you feel more appreciation of those training and more respect in that training, then it gives you even more inspiration, more enthusiasm in your practice, in your training. And then again, uh, it helps you to continue on the path, continue to practice. So, mm, so it is explained by training in the moral discipline of restraining or refraining from misdeed. It helps you to overcome, your harmful actions through any of the three doors. It helps you to reduce and overcome your harmful actions through training in the moral discipline of engaging the virtues. It helps you to actualize more positive qualities, more virtuous qualities. The more you engage in those training of engage in the virtues, and through that practice, it helps you to develop, increase, and improve more virtues in yourself and more positive qualities, more virtues and positive qualities within yourself. you know. Mm. And by engaging into the moral discipline of helping and benefiting others, working for the well-being of others, you know, it helps you to become more bodhisattva. It helps you to be on the bodhisattva path. It helps you to maintain on the bodhisattva path and to improve and increase on the bodhisattva path, as well as helping others. So it helps others, it helps yourself. The benefit of that practice is felt by or received by others and yourself. And through that, then we get closer and closer to our highest potential, fully awakened state. And the more we get closer to that fully awakened state, the more enlightened we become, the more we are able to help and benefit others. And the more inner peace and happiness we feel ourselves, and more sense of joy and happiness or satisfaction we feel. So in that way. Mm. Therefore, by exerting the next verse, therefore by exerting yourself in both of the vow, both of vow precept, bend on your pure, perfect enlightenment, and the accumulation of complete enlightenment will fully perfect. Mm. So, therefore, having trained to keep your mind, speech, and physical behavior pure as much as possible, having trained that way, and by exerting yourself to maintain and keep the both of the vow as pure as possible, by doing that, and um, then we create, and we do that. Those training the both of the vows or those training in the moral discipline by applying mindfulness, introspection, carefulness. You know, we try to be mindful as much as possible with our physical behavior, action when we interact with others, or when we are with ourselves. We try to be more mindfulness of our speech when we are interacting with others and ourselves. We try to be mindfulness of our thoughts. So when we are more mindful and introspective of our three doors, body, speech, and mind, then we are able to control better. You know, once we understand through that mindfulness, introspective mind and mindfulness, when we realize, oh, my physical action and behavior is not, good or positive or virtuous, or it could hurt and harm someone, or it could hurt and harm oneself, then we try to, not engage into that. We try to try to change to have more positive and virtuous expression or action. And so not to engage in the harmful action or stop from if we have been doing, once we notice that we stop doing again. That. Same with our speech, being watchful, and sometimes we are not aware, you know, the speech that we are, you know, and because again, the choice of the word we use, the tone we use, sometimes our tone is too high, shouting, or sometimes the word is not the best choice of the word, maybe harmful, hurtful, or harsh word. Sometimes, and a lot of time we are not even aware of that at that moment because we are not mindful of that. But if you are mindful, then again you have if you are mindful and you are aware, oh, this is not the best choice of the word, or the tone is too high, or the speech is too harsh. So again, you have the opportunity to transform and change it, and not to continue that harmful speech. The same with thought. We might have negative thoughts. You know, harsh feeling, thought. You know, hurtful thought. Hatred or anger, whatever thought that we might have. You know, again, if you are aware, recognizing, oh, I'm having those negative thoughts, and it's not beneficial, it's not healthy, it's harmful. It's harmful to others, it's harmful to myself, it's harmful for everyone. So again, when you notice that, again, you try to not to continue that. Give continuity to that thought. Instead, whatever practice, whatever tools, meditation practice you have access to, you use that and to reduce and overcome that hurtful, harmful, that harsh, negative thought. Through such practice, being introspective and mindful with our body, speech, and mind all the time, through that, then we can keep our mind, body, speech more pure, more virtuous, and through that, then we will have more success in keeping the both of vows and training in the three, training of the moral discipline of the Bodhisattva. And through having a better training in that, then we are able to maintain and improve our Bodhisattva mind and to be more benefit to others. And that is, the cause of pure and complete enlightenment, our highest potential. And through that practice, then we will be able to complete the two collections, the collections of merit and the collection of wisdom, and which are the cause to enlightenment, to fully awakening. Mm. As Nagarjuna in one of his writings, in one of his writings, in part of the dedication, uh, due to all these virtues, or the merit of all these virtues, may I be able to complete the collection of merit and wisdom. And having completed the collection of merit and wisdom, may I be able to achieve, the true kaya or true enlightenment, the Dhammakaya wisdom and Rupakaya. So again, in order to transform your mind into Dhammakaya wisdom of fully enlightened one, then we need to complete the collection of wisdom. And in order to transform, um, our unenlightened being or the body into something enlightened body of the Rupakaya, then we need to complete the the collection of merit. And through the collection of merit and wisdom, then we are able to achieve the Buddha, and that is a combination of the wisdom mind and the um, wisdom Dhammakaya and Rupakaya. And so that is, and that is through the one can complete like full training in that post what we is. So therefore, in both of the um, practice teachings, you hear a lot about, um, engaging into 3E1, uh, collecting the accomplishing or collecting the collection of merit and wisdom. So that is, so in order to achieve fully awakened state, so that we can be the greatest benefit to each and every sentient being, we need to, um, complete the collection of merit and wisdom. Mm. That collection of merit and wisdom is the main path to achieve fully awakened state. And in terms of the merit, then training in the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, training in the practice of generosity, training in the practice of moral discipline, training in the practice of patience, they're all a part of, the collection of merit. Okay. When we talk about collection of merit, it is not about some practice of, paying homage, prostrating, and offering. But all these parts, sometimes it is known as the method, wisdom and the method. Sometimes you see it's merit and wisdom here, like here. So when we talk about merit, all these practices are part of that, creating the merit. It's part of all that. So we don't have to. Our mind should be from when we study that should be much more broader when we talk about merit. not be so limited in understanding what merit means, or the practice of the merit. So since one, so okay. So up to here, then we finish the training in the paramita of the higher training or the paramita of the moral discipline. And the next comes, training in the paramita or higher training of the meditative concentration. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in relation to that, then why we need to train in meditative concentration or shamatha or samadhi or some abiding, and how to train it. Okay. First, why we need to train in that? Why we need to cultivate some abiding mind or shamatha or samadhi or meditative concentration? Why it's important? Especially someone who is on the both sort of a path. Because here we are discussing about both of path. Why is it important to develop that mental state or that practice? And then he explained how to practice, how to engage into that practice. Meditation. So here, all the Buddhas says, so Atisha is saying, all the past, present Buddhas, all the Buddhas has said and says that the cause for completing the accumulation, whose nature of merit and wisdom, is development of higher knowledge. So here he is explaining, in order to achieve fully awakened state, fully enlightened state, you need to complete and perfect the collection of merit and wisdom. And in order to complete and perfect the collection of merit and wisdom, then we need higher perception, higher knowledge. Sometimes it is translated as also clairvoyance, and some other translation I say higher perception. So you see different translator using different translations again. And in order to complete and perfect one of the main core, special cause to complete and perfect the collection of merit and wisdom is such higher knowledge or higher perceptions or clairvoyance. And in order to have that higher knowledge, higher perception of clairvoyance, you need to have the karma abiding or shamatha or samadhi. Without the karma abiding or the meditative concentration or samadhi, one cannot develop this these realizations or this mental state. And without that mental state, then you don't have a strong special cause to complete and perfect the collection of merit and wisdom. So that is why. So here is slightly different. You find different reasons. In Shantideva, in another Indian masters, 6th, 7th centuries, as well as earliest masters, Nagarjunas, um, around 2nd century, and also in sometime in Southern Sutras, you find the reason to develop meditative concentration, Kamabhati Shamatha, is to develop the special insight, the vipassana, to develop special insight, the wisdom that receives the ultimate reality. Okay, special insight, because that wisdom, the special insight, is the actual antidote towards all the delusion, and because delusion are the root of our suffering and our problem. The delusion are the root that keep us in samsara and continue to suffer. And so, therefore, the reason to develop the calm abiding or shamatha is in order to have that wisdom, the special insight. But here, Atisha explains slightly different way. But there is no contradiction, because you can develop that same quality for many different purposes, and because it can serve many different purposes. Once you have developed that, then it will help you to develop samatha, and also, as he said, it will help you to develop, if you want to, then higher knowledge, and also it will be help. Not only that, it will be incredible tool to be great benefit and help to others. So that is where not only you need to develop that abiding or shamatha in order to develop higher knowledge, and the reason to develop higher knowledge is to complete and perfect the merit and wisdom collection of that. And the reason to complete the collection of merit and to achieve your high, fully enlightened state. So also not only that, but also when you have this higher knowledge, then you can be also get more benefit to others than if you don't have that. So here that is what the next bird. Just as a bird with unfledged wings cannot fly through the sky. It might be able to fly a little bit, but it will not be fly for a long time and high, like the bird, just baby birds, who is trying to just come out of the nest. They might fly a little bit when they will fall down. They might fly from here to here, but they cannot fly until they develop their wing fully. When they develop their wing fully, then they will be able to fly from one area to another area. Similarly, here he said, one lack the power of higher knowledge. If we don't have that higher knowledge, clairvoyance, higher perception, we'll be unable to work for beings benefit. We can benefit just like the bird, the baby bird who is trying to fly, and he can fly a little bit or jump a little bit. Similarly, we can, without that, we can still be some help and benefit, but not the same help and benefit we will be able to do if we have those higher knowledge. A higher knowledge, like the bird with the full wing, who is able to fly very high, very long. Without the higher knowledge, it's like the just baby who has all just started to develop wing a little bit and who is just trying to fly. Same way, we can be help and benefit to others. It doesn't mean we cannot help and benefit to others. We can be help and benefit to others, but it will be very small and limited. But if we have higher knowledge, then help and benefit we can do to others is immense. So when we talk of in the Buddhist scriptures, I think not only Buddhist scripture, also in some of the earlier meditations, non-Buddhist, like shamatha meditation is quite common between the Buddhist and non-Buddhist of early school of thought. When it comes to the wisdom, vipassana, then there is a difference. But when it comes to the actually the shamatha, then there is. So So both in the earlier schools of thought in India before Buddhism came, as well in the Buddhist studies, they describe about six type of, you know, they don't describe all six in non-Buddhist school thought, and they describe some of them, but in Buddhist school of thought, they describe kind of six different type of higher here, as it is a higher knowledge or clairvoyant. You know. One of them is your, miraculous power. Okay, miraculous power, your ability to, through that first you develop the material concentration or shamatha, and on the basis of that, then you develop higher meditation. Higher meditation, and through that higher meditation, then you develop this kind of miracle power for someone to, go very far away, different places, uh, you know, and in that way, then you are able to reach more sentient beings benefit. If there is a sentient being that need help in very far distance, you are able to reach. If you need to go and get a teaching from very far away, you are able to go and get the teaching or to be helped and benefit. So that is how you can be more benefit before, you can be in a very short through your that meditation and that through your psychic power, you are able to um, go to the very far away to be benefit and help. Also through that you can also develop, higher knowledge through again shamatha and higher meditation, that you have ability to hear and understand different sounds, different language, different sounds of different beings. The ability to understand the language of the bird or different animals or different beings. By being able to understand their language, you are able to help them better. So again, that is one. And then again, there is another higher knowledge. Sometimes it's called divine eye. The other one's a divine ear. That you are able to hear and understand different language or different. Um, yeah, I don't know whether you use the word language for the bird. Can you use the word language? I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, different beings, whatever their language to communicate, be able to understand. And if you understand, then definitely you will be able to be more benefit and more help. And with the divine eye is again through that kind of meditative concentration and higher meditative training, then you can develop, where you are able to see, the futures. Yeah. And if you can see the futures of others, again you can get many benefits, great benefits, you know, to help them, you know. Mm, to give the right advice, right suggestion, right opinion, whatever way to help them, because you can see um, their future with your that, you know, mental power, psychic power, um, developed through that concentration. Then there is a higher knowledge that is able to see the path. You know. Again, if you can see the path of other sentient beings, again you can be much more in help. You know, you can be able to maybe explain why they are having this problem, this because of past, this and that. Just like how many people are being healed through hypnosis. A lot of people who have some kind of problems that they cannot fix, you know, with the medicine or different treatments, and And sometimes through that hypnosis and to be able to take them to the past and to be able to recollect with past actions and this, and then somehow they recover from their whatever trauma or whatever problem they are dealing with, and they are able to heal because they were able to connect their present experience in the past actions and connection when they see that connection uh, in same way. So if we can see the past in that way, and if we are able to help others, to connect and to- them to understand why whatever is happening, why, what are the cause conditions, uh, and how, and all of that, and definitely, we can again help. One will be have more tools and ability to be more helpful and benefit. That is the other higher knowledge is reading the minds of others. You know, again, that's the mental power, psychic power to read the minds of others. Of course, again, if we can read the minds of others, then we can be great benefit. Uh, we know why they are, what is bothering them, with what mental state, why, and then we can be able to help them according to their mental state, and knowing how to treat, how to react, how to respond, how to interact based on knowing their mental state. At the moment, we don't know their mental state, so you know, then based on what our assumptions, we do a lot of things. Even the best intention, you know, even if it's the best intention, we do things that might be, instead of being helpful, that might become hurtful, harmful, and not because of bad intention, but because of not understanding the other person's mind. You know, and so if we understand other person's mind, their different state of mind, their uh, feelings, their emotions, whatever those, then we will have better tools how to communicate, how to interact better. And so in that way, we have much more better tool and better way to be great and benefit and help. You know. And then higher knowledge of you know um, cessations of the delusion, and so that is like that is very high one. Um, to be able to know other person, mental disposition, mental state, karmic point of view, like disposition, and through that, and trying to help them, leading them to free from their samsara, their suffering, cause of samsara, according to the needs of individuals. Be able to guide what their needs are. Because everyone's a different level. Everyone's not same level. And a lot of time, because not knowing that, we try to treat everyone on the same level, and that doesn't work. Everyone needs to be treated differently. Everyone needs to be guided according to what their needs are, according to what their predispositions are, um, their interests, their inclinations, their mental state, their karmic imprint, and so forth. Once you have that, then we will be really be great benefit because we will be help exactly what they need. You know, fulfill, to help what their needs are, and to lead and guide and to show the path according to their um, needs, not based on what we think they need. At the moment, that is a lot of the time that is what we do. We take action or try to help or try to guide someone based on what we feel they need. And sometimes that can misfire. to really know what their needs are. And at the moment, we don't have that habit, you know. So that is why we are unable to be as much benefit as we can, even with the best intention, because of not having those tools, not having those tools. So that is why it is saying, you know, if we can have those tools, you know, those either all the six higher knowledge or five of them, four of them, three of them, two of them, even one of them, it will give us more tools to be much more greater benefit to help us. And in order to develop those tools, such as higher knowledge, then we need the abiding samatha. That is why we need to develop samatha in order to also to be greater help and benefit to others, more help and benefit to others. That is what is here, that verse explaining about that. The next one is also comparing, you know, accumulating merit, you know, accumulating merit, you know, or collection of merit and wisdom, you know. There's a huge difference between someone who try to do that with a higher knowledge and someone without higher knowledge. So that is where this thing. The merit of single day and night gained by one with a higher knowledge is not attained within 100 lifetime by one who is without them. You know? So, as someone without higher knowledge and not trying to create merit, collection of the merit, as well as the wisdom, you know, for more than 100 lifetimes, you know, same amount of the merit and the wisdom can be collected in one day by someone who has higher knowledge. So, so therefore, you know, we need to develop the higher knowledge, and in order to develop the higher knowledge, then we need to develop the meditative concentration or karma abiding. So that is where the author here, Atisha, is leading for us. So maybe I will stop here and I will open for some questions. If anyone has any questions, whether in person or in Zoom, you can unmute yourself and also ask the question if anyone has, or if anyone has anything to comment.
We do have a question online. Amanda, would you like to unmute yourself?
I just had a question on the first type of clairvoyance. You mentioned miraculous power. I wondered if that included healing. Thank you.
You mean?
Healing.
Uh-huh. Well, you know, here, when you talk about clairvoyance, you know, it doesn't talk about healing itself. It talk more about your ability, you know, to be different places or long distance in a very short period, in a moment. Uh, but I'm sure that when you have meditative concentrations and not only meditative concentration, but higher level of meditative concentration to develop this higher knowledge. And when you do this higher knowledge, definitely you will have much more um, skills or power to heal yourself or heal others. There's no doubt about that. but generally, scripture, they don't talk about healing in relation to that. And again, I think, of course, this is just how people observe. We don't. I cannot say is 100% accurate or true or not, but you often hear stories about some Buddhist masters, also some non-Buddhist masters, people seeing at different places at the same time. There are a lot of stories of that, at different places, different times. You hear about stories of that, and even in, and if that is the case, if that is happening, then it is through this kind of power, kind of mental power, as the miraculous kind of the ability to be in different places and to be in one place. If one place is very, quickly, one understand like that, be able to travel very quickly, to be also at different places. Okay. Any other? Yes, Venerable Pinto. Mm-hmm. Well, it depends, For example, once Venerable was asking before, once you develop karma abiding or mental concentration, then there are 4 levels of the mental concentration in the form, and then 4 in the formless. There are 8 different levels of, again, higher meditation. And so he's talking how important are those to develop. I think in order to develop the special insight, you don't need to develop all of them, without having developing all of them through the shamatha, one can develop the special insight. But it is mentioned, in the Shiva, the 4th of the form dhyana, and that is the most that mind is the most among all the dhyana is more suitable to develop that vipassana, because of not so subtle and not so gross. It's kind of very balanced in that way. So that is one, but also definitely, you don't need to develop that to develop the special insight, the wisdom. But for example, if someone wants to develop higher knowledge, as it is explained here, then you need to develop at least the 4, up to the 4. So it depends on what you are trying to develop. What is your main reason to develop that karma abiding and those different levels of method concentration? So it depends on the issue. To achieve enlightenment, you don't need to develop all 8 of them. You can develop the karma abiding, and with the concentration, then you can develop the vipassana or the special insight, and through union of the karma abiding and special insight, you can overcome all the delusions. Overcome all the delusions and achieve enlightenment. And those 2 supported by the Bodhicitta mind, then you can overcome even the infinite left at that, and you can achieve. So you don't need to actualize. But as I mentioned, if you want to No. So it depends on the individual purpose. Yes. So. Mm-hmm. 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 No, here higher knowledge is the clairvoyance. That is why at the very beginning I said, the different translation I have used. In one translation, I saw higher perception. Here they use higher knowledge, but in Tibetan word is the ngoshe, and that is more time we translate as clairvoyance. And so there are 6 types of clairvoyance, and that was what I. Yeah. Yes, please. Anyone?
Yeah, Sheila, we have one more question online. Lorraine, if you want to
Okay,
unmute.
please. Yeah.
Thank you. Lately, through my meditation and mindfulness practice, I've uncovered a lot of things from my past that are giving me a lot of, I know I'm not supposed to have guilt, but I can't really help it. And things have me questioning, who I am really and how my perspective has been throughout my life that has caused me to believe that I was maybe thinking more clearly than I actually was. And it's causing me to feel like I'm actually just having kind of an existential crisis about it because I'm not sure where I am with my mindfulness now that that has come to light. So if you can give some perspective on that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I still couldn't connect someone make it more clear to me. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. 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 Well, I think, first of all, you should be happy that you discover all this garbage. Um, now you have the opportunity to deal with that and clear those garbage. Sometimes we all have garbage, but a lot of time we don't want to look at that. Or we're not aware of that. And when we don't look at that, when we don't are aware of that, it feels good. But then something trigger you, and then that can be exploding, and that can be very, and you don't have the tools to deal with, and that it can be a very, very negative impact. But at least now, when we through those practice, as we go more deeper, and then as we realize, some of the mistake we might have done, some of the things that we are not proud about, something we are feel bad about, we come into awareness of those garbage, and so it's uncomfortable, but it's good because now at least you are aware that there is those problems. At least there was those garbage that had. And so now, it gives you opportunity to clear them and work with them and clear them. So then, once you are able to clear it them completely by dealing with that way, then, in the futures, no matter what, condition, it doesn't trigger you anything because you have already completely deal with that. It's no more there. Otherwise, we think there is nothing, but again, something happens and it can trigger that because we haven't really deal with that. We haven't really cleared that. And so one, instead of so that, and secondly, being kind and compassionate to yourself. Being kind and compassionate to yourself. We are unenlightened sentient beings. We are not a Buddha, not fully enlightened. When you are not fully enlightened, not Buddha, even the Bodhisattvas who has incredible compassion, even they make mistakes. Even the Bodhisattvas make mistakes. Even though in terms of their compassion, in terms of their loving kindness, in terms of their bodhicitta mind, it's such powerful, so great. But even they can make mistakes because they're not fully enlightened. When you are not fully enlightened, there is always possible to make mistakes, and even they make sometimes mistakes. So therefore, we, as just trying to be on the path and trying to be a better person and trying to improve than what we are before, and therefore, even we are trying, but we are not perfect at the moment. We are not fully enlightened at the moment. And therefore, we make mistakes. And that is okay to make mistakes. We learn from mistake. Hopefully not make that mistake again in the future. But making mistake, is that something we learn from that? And that is something is okay, Everyone make mistake. And everyone who is not enlightened, fully enlightened, they make mistake. The more enlightened, the less fully enlightened, no mistake. But then those who are on the path, who are more enlightened, they make less mistake. Let's still make mistake. More unenlightened, we make more mistake, and that is and accepting that. That is what our present situation, that is our present reality, and not pretending we are perfect, but then at the same we are perfect at the same time. How can I make mistake? To accept that we are imperfect. And that is okay, being imperfect in this situation. We want to reach the point where we want to be perfect, but that is going to take long time and long practice. With that, then being kind, compassion with yourself and not beating up yourself so much because, I wasn't compassionate enough, or I was too much selfish, or because, I did something very bad, this and that, So I think being compassionate, kind to yourself with that kind of understanding, that kind of through that kind of analyzing and thinking, contemplating, and also to know that we have the Buddha nature, to overcome all these mistake, all this garbage mistake that we make now. Eventually we will overcome them. We have the potential to overcome them in the long term. There's always the potential. So and so we are not there, but we will be there eventually. So again, believing in your own potential. Believing in your own potential. Just because we did something bad, that doesn't mean we will never be able to, become better, and that we will always make that same mistake or some. We have the potential to improve, potential to become better and better, the potential to become more and more enlightened. So believing your potential, and at the same time being kind and compassionate yourself can be helpful, not to be too harsh on yourself, and thereby to feel too much guilty, and to have too much guilty on yourself. Yeah, so maybe that would be one thing I would kind of suggest And also, part of mindfulness meditations, you even with the guilt feelings, whatever guilt feeling one might have, you learn just to watch and be aware, but not to dwell in that. That is the one thing, you don't want to dwell in that feeling, that emotion. If you don't dwell in that, then it is a moment. It's a momentary, it's gone. It doesn't last for a long time. So if it doesn't last, then it doesn't affect you so much. The problem is then you have that one emotions, whatever feelings such as guilt or whatever feeling, then our mind gets caught up in that emotion feeling and continue to, give fuel to that and then holding on that feeling for emotion for, minutes, hours, days, and weeks, and then that becomes problem. But if we learn just to be aware and but not really, uh, you know, give the fuel or hold on that, then again, it doesn't become a big problem. Uh, so yeah, I think that is all I can kind of say at this point. That's all yeah. So if there's question, I can take one more. If not, then yeah. One ready for dedications. Okay, then we can do the dedication. Shanti Deva's dedication prayer is led by the suffering of body and mind, open ocean, happiness and joy by virtues of my land. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind which and by depression. May the blind see form and the deaf hear sound. On soul be restored on finding repose. Find clothing, hungry, find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, the weak find love, find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome bear their fruit. All the sick and ill will be free from their ailment. Whatever disease they are undergo, may they never occur again. May the frightening cease to be afraid, and those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of vindicating each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the misery of God. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. And again, as I mentioned, if you are interested to study that further, you can go and check Illuminating the Path to Enlightenment, and you can download that and study.